Hello all, and welcome to my next video. This one's going to be a little interesting. It's an idea that a friend of mine, Cranky, I've mentioned him on here before. He sends me stuff when he finds it where he lives, and I'll do the same vice versa for him. Oh, excuse me. But he had found me the Burning Godzilla that I'd been looking for from the Destroy All movie. I found Space Godzilla here at home, and yeah, I basically wanted this Burning Godzilla because I think, besides the original Godzilla film, I think this one is the best movie. Um, and then I'll be honest with you, I'm not a big Space Godzilla fan, like of the movie, but I think this Japanese Godzilla design is the best one. So that's why I got the Space Godzilla version of him. And we're going to do a comparison with this guy. This is from the 2014 Godzilla when they rebooted it. I don't have the King of the Monsters version. I've kind of been hesitant to get one of those because I heard the eyes were kind of googly on a lot of those, so kind of put me off on getting one. But I did get this guy way back when it came out. I remember actually pre-ordering them. So we're going to kind of do a comparison with those. Kind of take a little bit of a trip down Godzilla suit lore, I guess. Godzilla look lore. However you want to put that. Yeah, so I don't have any NECAs of the older Godzillas, like the original one or the Godzilla vs. Mothra one. I know they made that one. What else have they done? I think Godzilla... I know they did 84, 85, right? Pretty sure they did that one. I've seen that one in my store at Walmart. I know they did Godzilla Mothra King Ghidorah. I know they did the GMK one. I think they had the Mechagodzilla one too, right? The 2003 one. Anyways, just kind of going through the history of Godzilla suits. Godzilla suits aren't, I mean, they definitely change a lot over time, but it's not too hard to really understand. It's kind of one of those things where he's always had the same basic giant mutated T-Rex look, but with major changes along the way. If you kind of look at the, let's see if I can get it in picture here. Kind of up there is like what you're getting with the older Godzilla's looks. This more anthropomorphic kind of look to him. That's especially really prominent in like the 60s and 70s films. Unpopular opinion, I'm not a big fan of 60s and 70s era Godzilla. Yes, there's some pretty good movies. The Mothra movie's good. Astro Monster's good. That original Ghidorah movie. Stuff like that. The original movie itself obviously is very good, even though that's the 50s, not the 60s and the 70s. I just never was a big fan of like the more goofy kind of Godzilla. It never appealed to me. Even watching them as a kid, I didn't really think they were cool. I thought he was a little bit too anthropomorphized. It was a bit too human with him jumping around and trying to fly. And like, I think in one of the movies he even speaks, right? Or he tries to speak. I mean, like, it's too much. And then you get into like the 80s and 90s, and you start getting more of a Godzilla like this. You start getting a little bit more of an actual monster. And this is from Space Godzilla, obviously, but it's my favorite of the Japanese looks. Even though the movie is not by any means my favorite. I think it's a pretty subpar movie. I like this look. It's my favorite look. So that's why I got that one. So yeah. The 50s Godzilla is still, I think, pretty unsettling. It just in that black and white, it's kind of got that creepy undertone to it and everything. It's a great movie and everything. But after that, once you start getting into a lot of the sequels, it does start becoming much more goofy, much more anthropomorphized. And I keep repeating those two phrases because that's what they are. So I didn't really want to get any of those figures because I kind of just don't like that old design. It's pretty simple as that. I know that's kind of blasphemous for a Godzilla fan to say, but so what? And, you know, listen to my Mortal Kombat, the new Mortal Kombat movie opinions. You'll get it. So yeah, we're going with these two. The biggest differences of Godzilla over time are like probably the biggest one is size. If you go back and watch that original movie, he's big, but he's not as big as he would become. By this point, he is massive. By the time you get to the 90s, he's massive. I even think he goes down in size in the 60s and 70s, right? Like, I think he goes down in size during those movies. Kind of like to a King Kong size. And then jumps way back up by the time the 80s comes around. Like, I know in the 84-85 movie, he's pretty big. He's even bigger in the Biollante movie. And then going into the 90s, he is massive. Then, of course, his look changed a lot. Like I said, you kind of go from having the anthropomorphic, definitely a dude in a suit, to the less subtle, or to the more subtle, it's a dude in a suit costume, as I put it. And a lot of that is just upgrading in technology, the material used, the look and the design being updated. It's just a way to kind of update Godzilla for a modern audience. So that's kind of what Toho did. They would just kind of update it as time went on. You know, it was okay to have the goofy, funny, kind of kid-friendly Godzilla in the 60s and 70s and have this hero. That's what was popular at the time. Adam West Batman, stuff like that, right? But, you know, going into the 80s and 90s where you're starting to deal with you're going back into a lot more serious issues, kind of like they did in the 50s, they toned it down. They went back to a more serious issue. They went back to this more monstrous design, but updated it completely with a different look. And it works. That's why I think those movies work better than any of the other ones. But yeah, and it's, you know, it's just a varying opinion. I know a lot of people who like the 60s and 70s Godzilla. That's cool. It's just not my thing. But yeah, that's kind of the way it crumbles. And then you get into stuff like the first American Godzilla, where it was a big iguana. The reasoning behind that was that they just wanted a leaner, faster monster. And that's kind of what we ended up with. There is a design by, is it Jean de Bont, who was going to do a movie that like was connected to Atlantis and stuff. That Godzilla had a more aquatic look, but it did look more traditional than what we ended up with in the 98 Godzilla. So it's not horrible. And then Stan Winston did the Griffin, right? I could be wrong, because that was going to be Godzilla versus the Griffin, I think. Could be wrong on that. If you ever want to look up an interesting little script, I'm not going to say it's great by any means, but it's definitely more fun than what we got in the 98 movie. Look up a script for Godzilla versus the Griffin. It's an entertaining read. I don't know if I would have wanted to completely see that in the movie. The idea of the Griffin was cool. I'll admit that. But I don't know if I would have wanted to see that in the movie. I think maybe updated and done better it would have worked. Yeah, it has a lot of hokiness. But that's the thing with the 80s and 90s Godzilla. They brought in a lot more of the serious tone from the 50s, but were able to keep the cheesiness of kind of like that look and style, but not make it goofy per se. Like they were able to balance everything right, in my opinion. And so yeah, we end up kind of with this being his last Japanese design until we get into the 2000s when they brought it back after, or I guess more 1999, right, with Godzilla 2000. And that little kind of short list of movies, you do have a little bit of a leaner Godzilla. He's got the purple spikes on the back and everything. And then going into like the Millennium series is where you get the kind of end of Godzilla. In between that is the GMK Godzilla. That's the one, if you've seen that NECA, it's the one that doesn't have any pupils. His eyes are just totally white. His feet are a little bigger. He's a little bit leaner. And he's a little bit more hunched over. And then you get the 2003 one, which is the Mechagodzilla movie for the 2000s, where he's kind of got frills on his neck. But he looks a lot like the 90s Godzilla, but he's got frills on his neck. And then that leads into going into Final Wars, which is kind of goes back to a more 80s, 90s classic look here. Although he is, like I said, over time, the main thing they did in that regard was make him leaner. From the 50s and 60s and 70s, that jumped to the 80s and 90s. They made him bigger and more monstrous looking. And then from the 90s going to the 2000s, it was keeping the monstrous look, the more like, I don't want to say realistic per se, but the more natural monster look, but making him leaner, like a little bit skinnier and leaner. That's the best way I can kind of describe the evolution of Godzilla. But that's enough of that. I know y'all have just been staring at these. I'm not good at talking and opening at the same time sometimes. That's why I wanted to kind of go over that. And then we'll get more into the more modern, the legendary design of Godzilla after we kind of get these open. But yeah, my favorite Godzilla design is from Space Godzilla, despite the movie not being my favorite. Maybe my favorite movie besides the original is Destroya, so I wanted that Burning Godzilla. We'll start with Space Godzilla, and another reason why I think it's good to have these two is because they are connected. Destroya came right after Space Godzilla, so you can probably kind of guess why. But we're going to start with Space Godzilla. Yes, it is a clamshell. For whatever reason, my Walmart has not got any of the like the new kind of ultimate packaging NECA's been doing. Which, I mean, that just looks awesome. It's the poster. It's amazing. All mine keeps getting is like the old ones with the clamshells. I don't know why, but it just keeps happening. The only one I've seen like this with the window box is the new Burning Godzilla from King of the Monsters, which I don't want. That's actually one of my biggest complaints of that movie is how that mechanic was used. I don't know why they agreed to do that, but hey, it happened. Overall, that's still a good movie, though. I like the King of the Monsters movie. We have that. Okay. I have a lot of old Godzilla posters, like from my favorite movies. I bought them online a long time ago when this one company was making them. This is like right before the 2014 movie came out, so I think they got a license. Started printing like old posters, like on really good cardstock. It's pretty cool. All right, there we go. Lots of twist ties, man. Okay, let's see. Let's go here. Got that one. Looks like he's got a couple here by his feet. Trying to get all of them. Bear with me. There we go. Got the ones at the feet. Looks like he's got one more. Oh, he slid right out on the head. Didn't even have to cut that one. Cool. Look at that. He stands. Dope. Sometimes NECAs have a weird thing where they won't stand. And I know some of their Godzillas are the same way. So, nice to see what that one does. And the tail came right out. That's cool. So, yeah. Alright. So, yeah, I like this Godzilla look. It's my favorite look out of the Godzillas from the 90s. There you go. Just like, blam. Get him up. Get those hands in. Come on. Up, 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 up. There we go. Nice tight joints. The mouth, I believe, does open, right? Yep, there you go. Mouth opens. Not a whole lot of head movement. It's there. It's just really tight. So there we go. Try to bring these arms in a little bit more, kind of like when he walks. There we go. Awesome. The tail is a good balance, if you actually kind of notice. Blamp. Tail's a different piece. It goes in. He's got a peg right here on the back. Well, if I can get it in, I'm not gonna lie, that's hard to get in. I don't want to like bend his dorsal fins. There we go. So the tail is kind of hard to get in. I get why, because like you kind of want it to stay there. And yes, the tail does have some articulation, if you notice. It can move. You can bend it how you want. So that way you kind of have them. All right, there we go. That kind of actually sets them up a little bit more too. So I think the tail being like that actually does work. Yeah, here we go. Like I said, my favorite Japanese Godzilla design. One of my biggest things with the 80s, 90s Godzilla that I will say is a bit of a negative, he always had really big thighs. He's thick, especially from the front. But, yeah, I like it. In terms of the Japanese Godzillas, I like this one. I like the original one. He does have finger articulation here, like a wrist joint and a kind of like a hand joint. Besides that, I do like the Final Wars Godzilla design. That's a good one. Because it kind of looks a lot like the 90s one, but it's a little bit more leaner. But have they made a... I'm sure NECA's made a Final Wars Godzilla, haven't they? I would imagine so. Just based on how they make these. But yeah, the tail is nice and long. The details on his spikes is really good. You see the coloring and the spikes that go on the sides, like on the back of his neck and then go down. And then he's got that like kind of classic maple leaf kind of design going here. So it works. It's real nice. Goes all the way down to the tail. I do wish the tail had a little bit more paint app and definition on the spikes that go down. I know they get gradually less and less, but I don't think they should get less and less until it's like right about here, and then it goes down and less and less. But I get because they wanted to make it a separate piece, they probably didn't want to put the spikes on for whatever reason. Okay, fair. So that's a minor gripe. It's got like the bright orange kind of eyes going here. His eyes are good, nice and straight, no googly eyes. Yeah, I like this design. I like the kind of darker look. I like the contrast in his dorsal fins. I think it was, even though the movie itself isn't anything to write home about, I think this design was like peak Japanese Godzilla design. Final Wars probably did do it better, to be fair, so maybe that should be considered. But like Godzilla at its like one of its most popular points, I can't say it's the most popular point, but at one of its most popular points is definitely this. So yeah, cool. Love it. And the reason, like I said, I mentioned it earlier before, and we're going to go a little bit more into it. Yeah, he's got all this articulation in the arm too. Look at that. Joint, joint, joint. Cool. So going into it, here is the Destroyer Godzilla, the Burning Godzilla. I wish somebody would make a Destroyer, not Bandai, because I don't think I could afford that. But like, it'd be cool if NECA could have made a Destroyer. Look at this satanic bastard. So there we go, Burning Godzilla. One, because yes, it is one of my favorite Godzilla movies, but two, a lot of people kind of always think about like it was a new suit for the Burning Godzilla. No, it wasn't. It was partially a new suit. The good chunk of the Burning Godzilla from the Destroyer movie is the Space Godzilla suit. What they did was they took the Space Godzilla, because Destroyer is the last one of the 80s and 90s movie, that era, the Heisei era? Heisei? I'm sorry, I'm probably pronouncing that wrong. But it's the last movie in that era before they did the Roland Emmerich movie in 98. So this was like, Godzilla's last movie at the time. And intended to be like his last movie overall, I guess. But it comes after the Space Godzilla movie. So they just took the Space Godzilla costume, they cut chunks out of it and replaced it with like new pieces, and then stuck all of these it was light bulbs, little orange light bulbs all throughout the suit to give it the burning effect that you see. Those were little like LED lights, I think, all throughout the suit. And then painted the eyes more like blood orange, like a bloodshot orange. And there you go. It's actually like the same suit. They just modified it. So, yeah, that's probably why the Burning Godzilla looks so good, because it's the Space Godzilla suit, and then you get that cool burning effect thing going too. So, I wish, like, I don't have the room to just keep all these boxes. I will say this. I get it's like the 65th anniversary of Godzilla for all this, but did we really have to use Shin Godzilla as the little logo? Shin Godzilla, I'll just tell you now, good movie. I just don't like what they did with that Godzilla. Um, Best way I can like kind of put that in a nice way. So there he is in the back. He's got a little bio here. He's all supercharged. He's going to melt down, and he's all orange and burnt because he's about to blow up, basically, like a big nuclear reactor. Yeah, but I wish I could keep these boxes because I love this right here. Obviously, I just don't have the room to keep all the boxes like this. All the like NECA Ultimates are cool like that. So yeah, we're gonna crack this guy open and kind of go. Especially when they do like a poster for the movie with it. I really like that. And this video is probably going to be a little bit longer just because of my descriptions and everything I'm trying to kind of go about here. Cool. Came with the little like back thing here. Sorry, I was reading something on the box. So that's kind of cool. Not going to keep that though. Same thing. Twist ties, all in the same thing. One around the tail, one around this tail, one around the foot, side, head. So let's go ahead and start getting those out. See if his head will just like slide out the same damn way. That'd be kind of funny. Oh, it did. Slid out like the same way. The tail did the same thing? The tail did not do the same thing. But we got it anyways. Okay. So there we go. Now, this Godzilla. See if we can get these arms in. Come on, come on, come in. Come in. Your little tiny T-Rex arms, come on. There we go. Cool. Yeah, if you actually kind of look at him, he's a little bit more hunched over, but like they have a lot of the same head. Like, especially, like, you can just tell by the texture of the head, like, the way the line goes down. They have, like, the same dorsal fins, just painted different. They have, yeah, it's like, it's the same design. They just cut pieces off and put all these little LED lights all over it to make them glow. A couple of things about this figure that I think are, if I'm not mistaken, they are a little bit inaccurate. For the most part, the orange part on the glow, like, there's his eyes, you can tell they're much more orange. I think like the placement of the orange stuff is pretty spot on. I could be wrong on this. I haven't seen the movie in a long time, so I don't want to make like a random assumption and be completely wrong. But I believe, and for anybody who doesn't know, the Godzilla tails do bend. They are bendy. Yep, there we go. So his tail kind of puts, like this one kind of leans him back. This one kind of pushes him a little bit forward, so he's a little bit more hunched. Nothing really wrong with that. But, so anyways, back to what I was saying. I apologize. I was getting the tail in there. That one went in easier than this one. And it's funny because they have little instructions that tell you, like, dip the tail in hot water or warm water for a little bit first. Like, you don't have to. It'll go in. You just got to force it in there. So, yeah, they were pretty much the same suit. Just pieces of this one were taken off, replaced, and then little lights were put through it. In terms of accuracy, I do think this one has a couple of little inaccuracies. I could be wrong. I think he's supposed to have some more burning here on the arms. I think there needs to be a little bit more down here. And then if I'm not mistaken, like on his legs, down at the bottom, I think his tail has more burning effect on it until you get to like kind of towards the end. I could be wrong on that. But I think the tail is supposed to have more burning effect too. If there's somebody who knows more about the suits than I do, please let me know if I'm wrong, right or wrong on that. Does this one? Yeah, this one has the open mouth too. Cool. But yeah, I mean, beyond that, like, I still think it's cool as just a display piece, even if it has little minor inaccuracies on it. And I get it. They just kind of reuse some of this one to create this one, which, I mean, they reused the suit to make this suit, so might as well use this action figure to make this one. Cool. I mean, I'm cool with that. Just, I do think it has a little bit of minor inaccuracies. I think it'd be cool if it actually lit up. That'd be really cool. But yeah, overall, I like this Burning Godzilla, even with its faults, more than the one we got in the Legendary version. As cool as the Legendary one looks in the movie, the figure is like almost just too bright of an orange. It just looks really weird, like as a toy. But there he is, long tail. The movie before him, Space Godzilla. So I guess only one other thing we kind of can do. We're going to open this guy up. I've had this one since, I think I pre-ordered it in late 2013 and got him after the movie came out. But that is for the reboot 2014 Gareth Edwards Godzilla. And he also has a bendy tail. You can bend it. Godzilla tails, NECA makes her bendy, which is great because they're so thick. They kind of look like they might not bend, but they actually do. And then you can just kind of see the much more animalistic look they gave the reboot. And in a lot of ways, this one is very similar to the one in King of the Monsters. The only difference is King of the Monsters redid the fins to look more like these. Let me see, could I have a pointer here or something? I'll use the scissors. So, Godzilla King of the Monsters did make some changes. This is the 2014 one, when Gareth Edwards did the movie. He's kind of just one solid color, which I kind of don't really dig. I wish, like, you know, they could have done a little bit more with these fins and everything. Godzilla King of the Monsters made some changes, some improvements in my opinion. They took these, like, just generic kind of spiky fins on this one, and they made them look more like these, like the maple leaf style, which is great. They should have been that from the start. Second biggest problem, the second issue I have with this is he's got little stubby tree trunk feet. And one thing the Gareth Edwards, that King of the Monsters improved upon was his feet. They made his feet a little bit wider, so they look a little bit more like something like this guy has. Not quite exact like that, but like more akin to fit this guy's design. So yeah, I could have, I guess I could have gotten the NECA for the King of the Monsters Godzilla. I just didn't because I saw so many of them that had that googly eye problem, and the ones that were at my Walmart appeared to have that too, so I just never pulled the trigger on it. Didn't want to deal with it. But yeah, as you can see, just over time, we get this more, once we get into the reboot for Legendary's Godzilla, we get this more animalistic Godzilla, and his tail is long, like, let me see, like it would plug in there, like, this is Space Godzilla. There's his tail. 2014 Godzilla, Legendary Godzilla, it would plug in here, and it's longer. He had a much longer tail. I had this in here. I took it out because when I put it in storage, the whole tail wouldn't fit in. I had to put them in there as separate pieces. So that's why it's out. But yeah, there you go. I like this design. I mean, I do think this more animalistic, more realistic design overall may be his best look too. Like, you can make a couple of different arguments. You could say 90s Godzilla here has probably the best Japanese Godzilla design between that and the Final Wars. But I think if you're talking about overall, just look like this is a real monster, then you go with the new Legendary movies. I mean, with the updated feet and the updated spikes. Not this one specifically, but this general style. But yeah, that's there you go. Those are going to be my 3 Godzillas now. Cool. Don't know where else to really go with this. I might pick up a Mothra and Rodan from King of the Monsters to go with this guy. I wish they made a Ghidorah, but NECA didn't make a Ghidorah, and there's no way I can afford the Figure Arts one, the Bandai one. Especially now since it's not being made and it's on secondary market. But yeah, there he is. I love Godzilla. Godzilla is one of my favorite franchises of all time. I talk a lot of crap about the old movies, and I think it's deserved, but I get a lot of people like them, and deep down I'll always have an affinity for Godzilla regardless of which era it is. But yeah, like I do love the 80s, 90s Godzilla a lot more. And then I do like the more animalistic look that we ended up with. Focus. There we go. Especially the one that came after this. This is 2014. The 2019 King of the Monsters one is even better from a design standpoint. So yeah, that's going to be it for this. I know this is a lot longer than what I normally do, so apologize for that. But if you sat through it and kind of went through my little opinions and modified history lesson of Godzilla suits, I appreciate it. And I'll catch you guys in the